Alright, YouTube, you may have seen that Bennet Omalu, or Omalu, I believe, or Omaru, I think it's, yeah, it's Omalu. Sorry, I got the title already written out so I could just read it. Is claiming that Clinton might have been poisoned by Vladimir Putin and the Russians and or by Donald Trump. Now, he's a Democratic partisan, so it makes sense that he would kind of go along with the storyline that Clinton is foisting on her fans, which is, oh, if someone doesn't support me, it's clearly because of Russian hackers. It's like it was funny to see Donna Brazile, new head of the DNC. You know, they've gone through 3 heads of the DNC so far this election cycle because of scandal, because of leaks. So she comes out and says, oh, well, people shouldn't read them. They might have, like, malware inside them or something. You know, let alone the fact that these files are, like, available in plain text. I don't think that they're likely to be viral. You've got 1 million people reading through them. Why do you think she said that? To keep Clinton fans from reading it, finding out how fucked up she is, especially with the Colin Powell emails, and then proceeding to stop supporting her. It's a desperate play. It's obviously not really working. Clinton is currently in a steep decline. Her opponent is clearly rising quite swiftly. It was funny, earlier, somebody from Fox, and it wasn't even a Democrat, said, oh, well, Trump's not gaining support, Clinton's just losing support. Yeah, I think we've just found the most moronic comment of the year. All you gotta do is look at RCP. He is rising. In fact, he's rising at about the same rate Clinton is losing support. This represents the core of people, about 85% or thereabouts, of those who intend to vote that aren't going to go with the third party. Now, third party support is swiftly rising, but it's still barely, in a double-digit, sort of teenage total. We're talking 15%. If Trump and Clinton were both really to screw each other at the debates, we might see third party totals hit 20. That would be kind of difficult, though. It seems to be around 15. Gary Johnson's evened out at about 9 to 11. Jill Stein's at around 4, maybe 5 on a good day. And that's probably where it's going to stay. By the way, I expect some of that support to be reabsorbed into whoever is losing going into November. Trump, beware. Because you're likely to be ahead of Clinton going into November. You need to be at least 2 points ahead. Otherwise, you could see some late Johnson migrators who migrate back to the Clinton camp, as well as possibly the Trump camp, so that might cancel it out. But I imagine it would play primarily to Clinton's hand if that were to happen. A collapse in Gary Johnson's support probably would buffer up Clinton a little bit. That being said, it'd still obviously be soft support. It's malleable, and it might not matter in the long run. But it's funny to see this, what is he, a forensic pathologist, I believe, and ranting about the possibility, oh, well, they should do toxicology because Clinton might be being poisoned, because the only one that benefits from Clinton being in poor health is, like, Trump and Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is not an issue in this election. Russia is not an issue in this election. For years and years, I've made videos about how Vladimir Putin is essentially just a charismatic figurehead who's ultimately really more of a moron than he is an adept leader, who got curb-stomped by sanctions and is now presiding over an economy deep in recession. He's part of a country that is quickly rusting into oblivion, that has an economy far smaller than most Western European nations, despite having a massive land area, a larger population, and all the natural resources you could possibly want. He's reigning over an economy that is partially monocultured and has taken almost as much of a hit as Venezuela or some of the Arabian states on the fact that oil has declined so steadily. So I'm no fan of Vladimir Putin. I don't see him as some sort of white godman savior like some people in the alt-right do. Because I'm not... when people are taken in by Russian propaganda, and then they try to say, well, I'm so open-minded and smart because I'm not taken in by American propaganda. But you're being taken in by Russian propaganda, you fucking dolt. So I just don't understand that. How can you claim to be like red-pilled or awake or something when ultimately you're listening to, what, the Russian government is any more honest than the U.S. government? I don't think so. I think they're about equal parts corrupt. But the fact is that Vladimir Putin's not responsible for these leaks. He claims, no, I had nothing to do with this. The state of Russia had nothing to do with it. I believe him. I don't think it had anything to do with them at all. Julian Assange already said, oh, well, if we released our sources, it'd be people with some cake on their face, or egg on their face, sorry. Yeah, I imagine that would probably be the Clintons. You know why I think Vladimir Putin appears to not really dislike Trump, while at the same time kind of, saying, oh, Clinton's kind of fucked up or something? You know why? Because Clinton has openly proclaimed that she wants to start the Third World War. She may not have said it in those words, but what did she say about cybersecurity? Oh, well, if there's any data intrusion, if I'm president, from Russia or China, we'll look at all options, including a physical military option. So you're threatening physical military retaliation for a data intrusion from Russia or China. You do realize that starts an atomic war. This is how the world ends, people. I can understand why Putin, who knows damn well he's not invulnerable, he doesn't believe his own state's propaganda about how he wrestles bears all day. He knows he would potentially succumb to radioactive fallout in such a scenario, or that his fallout shelter might collapse on his head and, crush him into nothing more than a bloody smear. I think he probably does have a vested interest in wanting Clinton to lose, but I don't think that he's trying to hack the U.S. elections. When DHS says, oh, well, there's a threat, some foreign state might hack our elections. Yeah, so could the domestic state. That's the problem. The problem is you're trying to centralize control of the voting system when you could just say, oh, well, people might try to hack our elections. It'd be better to use paper ballots. Isn't this a cheaper fix, too, than expanding DHS even further and paying them a couple $1 billion for no purpose? It's not like these government agencies can protect their own servers anyway. So when Bennet Omalu, or when Clinton, or Donna Brazil, or any of these other fucking retards rant about Russia being involved with these leaks, I say, number one, if they were, I'd applaud Russia. Because at least the Russians think that the American people deserve to know what the fuck the Democratic Party is doing. And that goes the same for the Republicans. If WikiLeaks were to release a batch from the Republican Party showing, oh yeah, John Boehner goes to gay orgies on a regular basis, Mitch McConnell is a serial pederast, here's like pictures of him at this party with the former Italian prime minister there, whatever his name was, I think Berlusconi, who was like fucking a 13-year-old, I think, in some cave underneath his mansion. He had like a swimming pool and a fake volcano down there and everything. And here's Trump's ties to Epstein, and he flew to Rape Island just like Bubba Bill did. Yeah, I'd be concerned about that. The thing is, that hasn't happened yet. This doesn't speak to a conspiracy. It could speak to a multitude of different things. Number one, maybe, just maybe, Trump doesn't have any dirt there to dig up. Number two, maybe they're better at security. At least they're not inept. Yeah, maybe they are corrupt, but at least they're not so inept that their servers get repeatedly hacked by apparently everybody under the sun. You look at these new DNC leaks. You've got Colin Powell ranting about, oh yeah, Bubba Bill is still at it, he's dicking bimbos, and Clinton's like an old non-transformational woman, I don't really want to vote for her, and, everything's fucked up, and her staff are inept, I told him not to do this, and now she's trying to blame me for telling her how to, skirt security rules and stuff. I mean, it's just a freak show all around when you watch these things. Seeing this retard, which is what he is, claim, oh, yeah, she might be being poisoned. No, she's not. That would kind of contradict her story, too. Well, is it pneumonia or is she being poisoned? You're suggesting a conspiracy theory. That's funny, because Clinton keeps saying that it's Trump who spews those out. The funniest part being, of course, this person actually is fairly well respected for being involved with the NFL's sort of brain trauma thing. Essentially the idea of football players that hit one another's heads constantly all day and smash into each other in a million different ways. Yeah, all those concussions and all those shocks that they're absorbing all day could probably scramble their minds over time. Yeah, I think it's common sense. The NFL swears that it's not true. But Bennet here actually is on the forefront of showing, yeah, it is true, and you need to pay up because you're causing people brain damage. So we can respect him for that, but this is just a retard theory. It's exactly what it is. There's no evidence whatsoever Hillary Clinton is being poisoned. I can't think of why Putin would actually do that. It could potentially start an atomic war. I would think that there are better ways to go about, if he really wanted Clinton to lose, going about making sure Clinton loses. The foremost way would be to shut the fuck up and not talk about the U.S. elections. Now wouldn't it? Or use reverse psychology. Oh, Trump's just a great guy. Ha ha, fuck Clinton. So that all of her fans get riled, say, see, we told you Trump was in bed with Putin. That hasn't happened, though. Nor has, by the way, Trump really praised Vladimir Putin. He said, oh, well, he's respected more than Obama. It's true. That's the truth. That doesn't mean that he likes him. I think that Putin is more internationally respected than Barack Obama is. It's not because Putin is nice. It's not because Putin is particularly effective. It's because Putin is better at making people feel that he's more effective. And perception matters more than reality in politics. It's as simple as that. You can't fault somebody for making that observation. True, Trump sometimes becomes a little bit less coherent than he should be, and says things in a way that maybe he didn't mean. That's true. But he's come out and told people flat out, no, I don't like Putin. I don't have anything specifically for him. I just think that he's more respected than Obama. I happen to agree with that assessment. What Obama did was give Putin enough rope to hang himself with, economically speaking. It was a good strategy. But the problem is that Obama still looks weak next to Vladimir Putin, partially because of Russian state propaganda, partially because Obama fucks everything else up, and partially because, and I've said this as well, the U.S. government's opacity makes it possible for Russia and any other country that's a competitor or foe or whatever you want to call it, to point to our government and convince a large plurality of Americans, your government's worse than ours. You're not the land of the free anymore. Russia's more free than you. North Korea's more free than you or something. There are people that will believe that because they perceive it as being true, because they look and they see, behold, yes, indeed, it is true. The government covers everything up. We can't read the TPP's full material. We have these DNC leaks. We have forthcoming Clinton campaign leaks. We have leaks about the NSA. We've got all these different things. We've got a police state, we got a spying apparatus, we got the TSA, the DHS, and all this crap after 9/11. And to any sane individual, it does. It looks like the U.S. government is completely and utterly corrupt. And by comparison, it looks like other countries are less corrupt. Now, that may not be true. I happen to believe Russia is more corrupt than the United States, which is going some, because the United States government really is quite corrupt. But at the same time, it's not as easily perceived by people who don't fucking live in Russia. So you can understand why they would have that actual belief. But no, saying, oh, Putin is more respected than Obama, that's just the plain truth. That's just the way that it works. Obama has done everything possible to alienate the Philippines, the UK, the French, whose rising Front National is probably going to take control, the Germans, where it looks like Merkel's probably out of a job at this point very soon, to alienate the Brazilian opposition, to alienate everyone in Venezuela, certainly to alienate the Libyans and Egyptians. What nation has Obama not attempted to alienate other than Laos? Laos. Okay. That's great. That's a good ally, but we've got other allies too. Why don't you stop poking your dick into their business, running them down and pretending to be holier than thou in every case where you happen to have a moral or economic disagreement with these states? That'd probably be a better idea. Meanwhile, what's Putin doing? He primarily doesn't entangle himself with other countries unless he attempts to take their land, or he's trying to buddy-buddy with them, as he is, again, the Germans and so forth. Merkel's trying to get on Putin's good side. It's a good thing that she's probably out of the job soon. No thanks to Obama and idiots like him who are a bunch of globalists and corporatists. And so, yeah, Bennet Omalu's completely wrong. No. If Clinton was being poisoned, then that would just mean that she and her campaign are completely and utterly lying about her having, just some slight pneumonia. Don't worry, folks. I think it was, they played some song at her last rally, and I can't remember the musical artist's name, but he died of pneumonia, and people thought that was rather funny, but also a little bit sad, and perhaps not a great idea. Can't remember. It was one of those old, soul artists. The one with the funny haircut. It looked sort of like a pudding bowl haircut, but with a fringe down at the bottom. He had a really, round face, literally, round like a ball. Just B.B. King, I think, maybe? I don't know. I don't know anything about, 50s and, crooning music from the 60s and stuff. I'm not into it. I prefer, psychedelic rock. It's going to be from the 50s. It's going to be like some Elvis Presley material. But yeah, no, Clinton's not being poisoned. She's just a sick old lady. She's had pneumonia. She has all these coughing fits. She may have Parkinson's or some other degenerative ailment, but she's not being poisoned. The only poison in her is her soul. That's about all. Peace out.